Have you ever wondered how fate can flip in just a heartbeat? How life, seemingly perfect and peaceful, can spiral into chaos with just one unexpected moment? This isn't just a story. It's a chilling reality that shook an entire village in Karnataka. A successful family, a tragic accident, and a mystery that goes far deeper than anyone imagined. This is the haunting case of Shilpa Rani and her husband Muniswamy Gowda. In a quiet village called Chikkoliga, nestled in the Hoskote Taluka of Bengaluru rural, lived a couple that many envied. 49-year-old Muniswamy Gowda was a man of stature, both a businessman and an agricultural expert. He owned a tire shop in the MV Extension area of Hoskote and was known for his sharp mind and kind nature. His wife, 39-year-old Shilpa Rani, managed the home and supported him in every way. Their daughter, bright and ambitious, lived in Mangalore for her education. Life was peaceful, structured, and successful. The Gowda family had everything: wealth, respect, comfort. Muniswamy's agricultural knowledge made him a local expert, and his tire shop served everyone from bike riders to truckers. Despite their success, they were grounded people, often visiting their daughter in Mangalore, almost 375 kilometers away. It was during one of these visits in August 2024 that everything began to unravel. On August 13, 2024, Muniswamy and Shilpa Rani, accompanied by their driver Somesh, were returning from Mangalore after visiting their daughter. As they drove through the Arasikere Taluk in Hassan district near Gulur Hosahali Gate, fate had already planned its strike. Their car suddenly suffered a flat tire, forcing them to stop by the roadside. Somesh, the driver, stepped out to replace the tire. Muniswamy joined him, heading to the trunk to retrieve the spare. Shilpa remained in the car. As the two men worked by the roadside, a speeding truck came hurtling toward them. Somesh saw it just in time and screamed, but Muniswamy couldn't react fast enough. The truck smashed into them. Somesh narrowly escaped. Muniswamy didn't. The accident scene turned chaotic. Passers-by rushed to help. Muniswamy was taken to the nearest hospital, but doctors declared him dead on arrival. A devastated Shilpa, trembling and in tears, later narrated the incident at the Gandasi police station. She spoke of the tire puncture, the roadside stop, and the fatal truck, her voice cracked with pain. The police were already alerted to the accident and had dispatched a team to the scene. Though it appeared to be a tragic road mishap, standard procedures had to be followed. A report was registered, and Muniswamy's body was sent for post-mortem. The once happy Gowda household turned into a mourning ground. Family and friends gathered for the funeral. The villagers grieved the loss of a beloved man. In such a delicate time, investigators avoided intense questioning. Shilpa Rani was left to mourn, and police shifted their focus to tracking the truck and its driver. Was it just a hit and run, or was something more sinister hiding beneath the surface? The officer in charge, Raghavendra Prakash, began to piece things together. Surveillance footage from nearby cameras was pulled. Driver Somesh described the truck, though the incident lasted mere seconds. Still, the team traced every possible lead. They created a list of trucks that passed through the area at the time. Among them was one that raised eyebrows and suspicion. Just when the police thought they were tracking a simple case of reckless driving, they stumbled upon a name that would take this investigation in a chilling new direction: Devendra Nayak, a truck driver from Chikmagaluru. But why would a random trucker from a nearby village matter so much? And most importantly, was this really just an accident? What if the person you mourned wasn't dead? What if the man whose ashes you scattered suddenly appeared at your doorstep, alive? What would you believe? Your eyes, or the memories of a funeral you attended yourself? For Inspector Srinivas, that impossible question became a horrifying reality just days after Muniswami's death. It was August 23rd, 2024. In Siligata, a town over 230 kilometers from the accident site, Inspector Srinivas had just wrapped up his shift. He was relaxing at home when his doorbell rang. What he saw at the door left him frozen. Standing there, in flesh and blood, was Muniswami Gowda. Yes, the same man whose funeral Srinivas had attended. The same man whose charred body he had helped carry. But there he was, alive, breathing, speaking. Srinivas, who was also Muniswami's distant relative, couldn't believe his eyes. For a moment, he thought it was a hallucination, a ghost. But no, this was real. Muniswami was not dead. He was standing right in front of him, asking for help. And as a police officer, Srinivas had a duty to do much more than just listen. Meanwhile, back in Gandasi, the police were already puzzled by the post-mortem report. The official cause of death wasn't blunt force trauma from the accident. It was asphyxiation. Marks were found around the neck. That meant the man they cremated was already dead before the accident. The road incident was just a cover-up. Now they were investigating a possible murder. But whose body had they cremated? And why? As police scrambled for answers, Srinivas sat quietly, watching Muniswami. Something didn't feel right. Why would a supposedly dead man suddenly show up asking for help? And why now? Still, he didn't raise alarm. He calmly invited Muniswami in and notified Siligata police to discreetly arrest him. After all, duty came first, even before blood ties. Back at the accident investigation, more troubling details emerged. Shilpa Rani had arrived late at the hospital, despite claiming to be with her husband during the accident. She asked the hospital staff to cover the dead man's face with bandages, even though there were no facial injuries. Why? What was she trying to hide? And more importantly, who was that dead man? Even more bizarre, Somesh, the family driver, had also vanished. Initially helpful, his sudden disappearance raised red flags. When police tried to match their hospital records with the reported chain of events, nothing lined up. Muniswami had been admitted as an unknown male. If Shilpa was really there during the accident, why didn't she identify him then? Why did she come later? And then came the biggest twist of all. When Muniswami was brought in for questioning, he broke down. Piece by piece, he started revealing the most shocking truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't fate. This was a scam, masterminded by Muniswami and his own wife. The motive? Debt. Muniswami had once been a prosperous man. But after COVID-19 hit, his business collapsed. Losses mounted, loans piled up, and soon he was neck-deep in debt. Desperate and defeated, he confided in his wife. They brainstormed a way to escape their reality, and then the unthinkable happened. One night, while watching the movie, Shivaji, the boss, an idea struck him. What if he faked his death? Inspired by the film, Muniswami hatched a sinister plan. He would vanish, disappear from the face of the earth. But before that, he would take out multiple life insurance policies, naming his wife as the sole beneficiary. That way, when the world believed he was dead, Shilpa would collect the insurance money, repay the loans, and the two could start a new life somewhere far away, maybe even Nepal. But there was a massive hurdle. A body. They needed a corpse. Not just any body, one that resembled Muniswami enough to fool everyone, even close relatives. So, months before the planned accident, Muniswamy found his solution in an unexpected place, a garbage dump. In the Hospet region of Vijayanagara, he met a homeless man, a rag picker. No one knew his name. No one knew his story. He lived off scraps, slept wherever he could, and had no family to speak of. He was invisible to society, but to Muniswamy, he was perfect. Their height, build, and complexion matched eerily well, and that made him the ideal body double. Muniswamy and Shilpa began feeding him, giving him new clothes, even taking him for car rides. They gained his trust, treated him with kindness. He thought he'd finally found friends. But he didn't know he was being fattened for slaughter. As the police sat stunned by the confession, one question echoed in every mind. If this is true, then who died that day on the road? What would you do for 5 crore rupees? Would you disappear? Lie? Cheat? Kill? For Muniswamy and Shilpa Rani, the answer was all of the above. But now, the truth was unraveling faster than they could hide it. What they thought was a perfect plan was actually built on a single terrible miscalculation. Even the most forgotten man can leave behind questions that refuse to die. After Muniswamy's chilling confession, the Gandasi police were shaken. A man had been murdered in cold blood, his identity erased so that someone else could live on through his death. And the most heartbreaking part? No one even knew his name. The body they had cremated, thinking it was Muniswamy, belonged to an invisible soul, an unknown homeless man who trusted the wrong people and paid for it with his life. But how did it all unfold? It started months before the staged accident. Muniswamy began visiting the Hospet area often, forming a bond with the rag picker. He offered him food, clothes, even paid him a little money. Slowly, the man began trusting him. Shilpa Rani also joined in, sending food from home, speaking kindly. He believed he had finally found people who cared. He didn't know he was just a pawn in a cruel game. When the man's health began matching Muniswamy's physical profile, same height, weight, and even blood group, the plan moved into its final stage. One day, under the pretext of taking him for a medical checkup, Muniswamy confirmed everything. No serious illness, same blood type, perfect for substitution. But instead of healing him, they were preparing to sacrifice him. Muniswamy, Shilpa, and 4 others, including the family driver Somesh and truck driver Devendra Nayak, set the final plan in motion. On August 13th, after dropping Shilpa back home, Muniswamy picked up the rag picker and took him on a long drive. They picked up 2 more accomplices along the way, Suresh and Vasant. As they reached Hassan district, everything was ready. The spot was selected, the car's tire deflated deliberately, and the fake accident staged down to the second. The rag picker was strangled to death with a rope by Muniswamy and the others. His body was placed near the car, just as the truck driven by Devendra Nayak, a bribed accomplice, came hurtling down the road. The truck lightly damaged the car, enough to make it seem like a brutal accident. The body was placed strategically. The truck roared off and the crew disappeared. Shilpa arrived late at the hospital crying dramatically. She insisted on covering the dead man's face, the face of a man she murdered. Then she filed a police complaint describing a made-up scene of tragedy. Her husband heroically trying to fix a tire, suddenly struck by a speeding truck. The media lapped it up. The villagers mourned. The funeral was held. Muniswamy was officially dead. But police suspicion grew after the post-mortem. The neck bruises told a different story. Then came Shilpa's behavior. Strangely calm, not wounded, despite being supposedly in the car. Driver Somesh's sudden disappearance was another red flag. everything began to fall apart. And then, the living ghost, Muniswamy himself, showed up at his cousin's door. Inspector Srinivas did what any honest officer would do. He had Muniswamy arrested and informed Gandasai police. When confronted, Muniswamy admitted it all. His business had collapsed post-COVID. The debts were unpayable. The 5 crore insurance money seemed like the only way out. So, he decided to disappear and let someone else die in his place. But now, a deeper mystery began haunting the officers. Who exactly was that poor man who died? Muniswamy never asked his name. He never bothered to find out if he had a family, a home, a story. To him, the rag picker was just a tool, disposable. Police tried to identify the body, ran fingerprint checks, searched missing persons databases, but nothing matched. No family ever came forward. No one asked for him. It was as if the man never existed. But he did. He trusted. He smiled. He felt safe. And in return, he was betrayed. Shilpa Rani, Muniswamy, and all their co-conspirators were arrested. Charges of murder, insurance fraud, evidence tampering, and conspiracy were filed. Yet, due to the complexity of the case and ongoing trial procedures, many of them were granted bail. As of now, they walk free. The case continues in the Sessions Court. Justice for that unnamed man still hangs in the balance, and the 5 crore insurance payout? Blocked. Frozen by the insurance companies pending legal resolution. Their dream of running away with the money is as dead as the man they buried. But here's what still haunts everyone who followed this story. Who was he? The man who died? What was his name? Where did he come from? Was there a mother somewhere waiting for him? A sibling? A friend? Or was he truly so invisible that his life and his death meant nothing to anyone except the people who used him? This story leaves us with more than just answers. It leaves us with questions. How many people like him are out there, living in shadows, forgotten by society? How far would someone go for money? And if someone's entire identity can be erased so easily, then what does a life even mean in today's world? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Was this just a story of financial desperation, or something much darker about how we treat the invisible people around us? Let the conversation begin.